Welcome to Blueprint, Expo City Dubai's podcast where we meet the visionaries and innovators shaping Dubai's future. Tune in for candid conversations, discover how Expo City is driving transformation, and uncover the ideas that inspire fresh ways of imagining what's next.
Our distinguished guest today is Camille Joseph Varlack, Deputy Mayor for Administration for New York City, with extensive leadership in urban governance and crisis management. Camille, it's such an honor to welcome you to Blueprint by Expo City Dubai. Really, it's fantastic you're here. We really appreciate that you've come all the way, and I can't wait for this conversation. Your career is so impressive, spanning so many senior roles: Chief of Staff, Interim First Deputy Mayor, founder of a law firm, your legal expertise you just told me about, an entrepreneur, responsible for orchestrating major city operations. I mean, I can go on. A systems thinker, innovation, policy development, all of this multifaceted thinking for multifaceted urban challenges. Welcome to Dubai. Welcome to Expo City Dubai. Welcome to the Asia Pacific City Summit and Mayors Forum, our global cities event with 150 mayors, 200 city leaders, more than 300 cities, one of the largest global gatherings of city leaders in the world. You've just got off stage, and it's wonderful to have you. Thank you for being with us.
No, thank you so much for the warm warm introduction. It's been great. This is my first time in the region. And everyone has been wonderful.
Even a warmer welcome.
Yes, it's been a wonderful time so far.
Well, I just want to begin with how do you think about all of the things that you think about? I mean, this idea of governance at that scale. I mean, you're part of one of the most complex city machines in the world.
Yes.
What does it take to think about running governance at that scale?
You know, it's interesting. I'd never really thought about my desire to be in the middle of all things crazy until maybe a year ago. I was having a conversation and I was reminded my mom and I immigrated from the Trinidad and Tobago when I was a child. And, you know, she grew up in Rochester, New York, not New York City, which is where many immigrants from the Caribbean go. And she worked many, many jobs. It was very, very stressful. And inevitably, she would come home and something would have gone wrong. And I would simply say to her, don't worry about it, I'll take care of it. Like, you go do that and I will take care of this. And so my ability to sort of remain calm in an unexpected circumstance where I have absolutely no idea what the answer is really stemmed from that.
Yeah.
And it brings me such incredible joy. So I'm an attorney by training, really grew up thinking that that's what I wanted to do. And I had an opportunity when I was working at the governor's office to become the deputy chief operating officer for the state of New York. And so in that capacity, you're making sure that agencies are doing all the things that they're supposed to do. You're making sure that they deliver upon gubernatorial priorities. And then when something goes wrong, you're sort of on deck. And so every day there would be something incredibly different that you didn't have experience with, and you just sort of have to figure it out. And it's really about breaking a problem down into its component parts, identifying the right people who can give you the answers of how to fix the problem on the ground, and then just moving forward.
I absolutely love that. And I actually share that perspective. And I talk about this idea of an immigrant mentality too, because I'm ethnically Indian. My family's 4 generations Kenyan. I grew up in the UK, but I've been in the UAE for 17 years.
Right.
If that doesn't drive you to get things done, I don't know what does.
Yes.
But you talk about then sort of that innovative spirit. So how do you approach sort of innovation in a system which is already so well established?
Well, New York is ever changing, and I think that's the thing that's most amazing about it. When I've been asked, you know, what do I think New York's strength is, the first thing that comes to mind is its diversity. Yeah. It's the fact that you can have individuals that speak hundreds of different languages, that come from hundreds of different countries, all coming together in this one place that, quite frankly, can be a little difficult to make it. But they know that there's a path and there's an opportunity, and it likely will be easier for them to find that path in New York City because you can find someone else from your country, from your culture, with your background. And so I think it's just an amazing, it's a very unique and incredibly special place that makes it very possible for that to happen.
So then picking up on that idea of diversity, global migration patterns, people are moving at ever increasing rates. And I think that this is possibly a golden thread between cities in the global north and the global south from around the world.
Yeah.
So what sort of city management lessons are there from the experience that you've had in managing diversity? And we have 200 nationalities in Dubai.
Yes.
I mean, this is a very, very diverse place. So, maintaining your cultural identity, maintaining the principles and ethics of the city as well.
Yes.
What lessons can you share with city leaders who are here, who want to learn from the experience in New York?
Sure. So I think I'd answer it in two ways. So first, most recently, many will have heard of the fact that we had over 240,000 asylum seekers come into New York City over the course of the past 2.5 years. Individuals from all over the world, many from South America. We had a lot of West Africans that came into the city as well. We had Asians. It was a true diverse moment, completely unexpected. We just realized at some point that busloads of folks were coming in, and we didn't know where they were coming from, and we had to create an entirely new shelter system. So we stood up 210 emergency shelters. We absorbed 45,000 students into New York City public schools, which is already the largest school district in the country.
Bravo.
With 1 million children.
Bravo.
And we had to do it while helping our newest New Yorkers, as we fondly call them, figuring out sort of what their next path was, right? We knew what they were coming for. New York City was uniquely situated to be the place where they ended up. And while the circumstances weren't great, it was sort of an opportunity and a privilege to be able to help them. And we were able to do that. So we had 240,000 folks come in. We're down to less than 35,000 that are in our care. Most others have figured out a way. And we did that because New York City is diverse. It is resilient. We are a city of immigrants. We know, what it feels like when our parents, when sometimes our grandparents all sort of came to New York looking for that experience. And so we were able to figure it out. And I think the second part of that is what it's like to govern from a political perspective when you have such diverse neighborhoods. And it's really amazing. I have found in this administration that I've been in, the mayor has gone out of his way to find those communities that never had the opportunity to go to City Hall, never had the opportunity to go to Gracie Mansion, never had the opportunity to have a round table where they talked about the things that were pertinent to their community. He made it very much a priority to bring them in and to have those conversations. And then once that was over, he would task us with the follow-up, right? Making sure that we were doing things that were responsive and making sure that people felt heard. And so I'm a big believer in bringing diversity, bringing diverse individuals, not just from your traditional forms of diversity, but socioeconomic background, et cetera, to figure out how to solve problems, right? To be willing to listen to people as they're coming up with creative ideas and they're sharing their background and perspective. And I think all of that is helpful.
Yeah. And in your answer, you've identified two types of resources: the actual, resources, financial resources that a city has, but also, the intellectual and the intelligence that is universal. So that for cities that don't necessarily have the resources, there are many here in the conference that don't necessarily have the resources that New York has. What are you looking to learn from them at this conference?
So, and one thing that I'll say is, we didn't have the resources, right? We spent $9 billion on a problem that took over 2.5 years. That was not money that we were, that we had in the piggy bank. It had a significant impact on the things that we were able to do in New York City, right? So cities of any size, and I think through that crisis, we've spoken to so many people that are facing the same thing. And so what I would say is, the first thing is we need to have conversation, right? There needs to be an understanding that whether you're a small city in Africa or whether you're the largest city in the United States, there are common problems. And so coming together at convenings like this where we sit down and we have the conversations, you realize that we're really not that different. Yes, we may have more resources, but there's also an opportunity for us to share, right? So starting with knowledge, extending it to educational exchanges and opportunities. I've spoken to some folks here who've talked about incubation that they're doing in Africa and wanting to understand and get best practices from New York. So to me, that's the first thing that we can do. Conversation, information exchange, cultural exchange, having people come, see what we're doing. That's the way that you help communities sort of get to an even place, right, where they have access to the same information.
Yeah, and you're building resilience and you're building equity. So one of the sort of the key themes that I really loved hearing about from you earlier was this focus on intergenerational equity and building for the future. You're not building for today.
Exactly.
How do you do that, and how do others replicate what you're doing?
Yeah, you've got to think about equity and inclusion in the broadest sense possible, right? So when we think about artificial intelligence, everyone is very focused on it. We are also very focused on making sure that our youngest New Yorkers, as well as our oldest New Yorkers, feel comfortable, facile with the technology, and that leads to building programs, right? So we sit down in a room, we talk about the issue, we recognize what's happening. We start thinking about how early can we start getting people involved in this work. What are we doing, from building internship pipelines to what are we doing with working with systems of higher education to make sure that they're creating certificate programs so when our kids graduate, they have a place to go. It's not something that they're only newly hearing about. We create task forces and work groups so that young people are sitting around the table and ideating, telling us and we're learning from them as well.
Yeah.
And then we're doing it all the way on the other end. So we have an office called the New York City Department of Aging. The commissioner there is an extraordinarily wonderful woman who is just a complete spitfire, as are all the older adults that tend to show up at all of her events. And we make sure that they have that access to, and bridging it, right? Bringing the young people together with individuals who could be their grandparents,
and having
and
that
helping them
collaboration and
exactly,
co-curation.
working together into learning.
So that sort of as a microcosm of wider city exchange, why do you believe that city-to-city collaboration is important today?
Because I fundamentally believe that our world is changing. It's changing in a world where it's changing in a way where it's not going to go back, right? It's going to change. There'll be ups and downs. Some of it'll be positive, some of it'll be negative. But ultimately, it's moving forward. And so while I think national governments can, sit sort of on high and come up with broad themes of what they think we need for society to move forward, ultimately that work is going to happen on the ground. And so I've worked at the gubernatorial level, I've worked at the local level, and there's nothing more incredible than being on the ground with cities, because we touch citizens closest, right? We understand when an initiative comes out, when a new regulation or law happens. We see what that impact is immediately. And so to me, it's the most important level of government.
Yeah.
And that's why I think sharing and having collaborative conversations, I think traveling the world, going to other places, understanding that other cities are facing
things
these
on
issues.
the ground.
Exactly.
One quick fire question, because I'd love to get into just how you've got to this point and maybe how you've been influenced in terms of your thinking. Any leader or thinker that shaped your approach that you might recommend others follow?
Oh my goodness, no. I think for me, to be perfectly honest, my drive and my approach to life is shaped by my mom, right? I leave for work at 7 a.m. She's already at work. She's still working. And when I leave in the evening, 9 times out of 10, she's still there. And so she was a nurse who became a nursing educator. And I think that watching how she treated others, right, her love of serving others, the respect and integrity that she brings to her work, is something that has consistently driven me. And as I try to give that back to young people that I work with and my peers, I sort of try to operate in the same way. I went to an Irish Catholic high school, and the motto was Fac omnia bene, which means to do all things well. And that's just something that stuck with me. So I just try to get up every day, do the right thing, encourage others to do the same thing, recognizing that I truly believe that we're global citizens. We have a responsibility to each other. And so it's a little Pollyannish, but it truly is the way that I see the world. And so,
well, here's a very warm note of gratitude from Expo City Dubai to your mum.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
It's a pleasure.
It's a great conversation.